Marriage, a sacred bond between two people, brings together not just the partners, but also the family. Marriage is a spiritual partnership and union in which two people voluntarily give and receive love, create and share intimacy, and open themselves up to be available and accessible to another human being to heal, learn, and grow. Most individuals marry out of love, but some do it for the money. Other couples decide to marry because it meets their needs and upholds their principles and ambitions. In all of these marriages, consent is present. Although it might not seem like a big deal, consent is a luxury for many people who can't afford it. These people's fundamental right to be able to offer consent has been taken away, whether it be in the form of selecting a life partner or even just their daily activities. Today, we'll address the growing issue of forced marriage, which has troubled our community for years. Simply put, forced marriage is one in which one or both parties are unwilling to exchange vows. Due to the high prevalence of cousin marriage in Pakistan, parents typically pressure their children to wed their nieces or nephews to foster close ties between the siblings. They frequently sacrifice their children's desires for this cause, which is wrong and immoral. A standard estimate states that just 1 in 10 girls are asked by their parents if they want to get married, compared to 5 out of 10 boys, suggesting that forced marriages are a problem for both genders. However, women are worst affected. Forced marriage is a problem that affects a lot of nations, with Pakistani having the highest incidence rate at 46%. The Mirpuri Kashmiri group, which makes up over 85% of the Pakistani population living in the United Kingdom, is generally linked to forced marriages. In the UK, the horrible practice of forced marriage is recognized as a form of abuse and violence against men, children, and women. Hadika Bashir was just 11 years old when she received a marriage proposal. Hadika's parents accepted the proposal because it was customary in Swat for parents to wed off their daughters when they were 11 or 12 years old. Hadika made several attempts to tell her parents no, but they persisted. Hadika's uncle educated her about the child marriage law and her legal rights, after which she fearlessly fought against her parents. Hadika began a campaign against arranged and early marriages. She established a group called Girls United for Human Rights as a forum for disadvantaged girls to develop their leadership abilities and speak out against injustice and unfairness. To shed some light on what a forced marriage victim goes through, we decided to interview someone from our community. To protect their privacy and safety, we have modified the following footage and decided not to reveal the identity of our interviewee.
जब मेरी शादी हुई थी मैं 19 इयर्स की थी तो मैं मतलब लीगली तरीके से ही हुई थी, अनलीगल तरीके से नहीं हुई थी। मेरे जो हस्बैंड हैं वो मेरे से 10 इयर्स का मतलब गैप डिफरेंट था, एज गैप। हम दोनों की तरफ से अरेंज थी। हम लोग एक दूसरे को बस मतलब जानते थे, कोई मतलब रिलेशन वगैरह कुछ भी नहीं था। पेरेंट्स ने बस कहा था कि मतलब ये रिश्ता है, ऐसे है, और बाद में फिर हाँ वगैरह वो थोड़ी दिनों बाद हुई थी। वजह तो कोई भी नहीं थी, बस यही वजह थी कि वो मम्मा के रिलेटिव्स में से थे। तो आपको पता है कि ज़्यादातर लोग प्रेफर यही करते हैं कि मतलब फैमिली के ही लोग हों, कि फैमिली से बाहर ना ही होना। हाँ बस ऐसे था, खुश भी थी नहीं भी थी, क्योंकि उसके अलावा तो कोई ऑप्शन रहता ही नहीं है। जब पेरेंट्स कह देते हैं कि नहीं यहीं पे होना है तो मतलब बस फिक्स हो गया, तो इससे आगे तो हम कोई बात कर ही नहीं सकते हैं। मैं सब गर्ल्स को यही कहना चाहती हूँ कि उनको वही करना चाहिए जो मतलब एक तो जो पेरेंट्स कहते हैं उनकी भी माननी चाहिए, पर अपनी भी सलाह देनी चाहिए कि हमें ऐसा बंदा चाहिए और मतलब हमें ये पसंद है या कुछ भी है जो भी है, तो वैसे भी पेरेंट्स के लिए भी ये होना चाहिए कि पेरेंट्स भी उस बच्ची के लिए सेकंड ऑप्शन ज़रूर रखें, अगर तो उसके पास कोई सेकंड ऑप्शन है तो। अगर नहीं है तो ठीक है, वो भी राज़ी हो जाएगी, उसमें कोई मसले वाली बात नहीं होगी। अगर कोई बच्ची राज़ी नहीं हो रही है तो इसका मतलब यही है कि वो सेकंड ऑप्शन के साथ ही जाना चाहती है, और वो सेकंड ऑप्शन भी पेरेंट्स को देना चाहिए। पेरेंट्स को अपनी ही नहीं मनवानी चाहिए कि हाँ कि हमने कहा है तो यही होगा। हर लड़की की भी ख्वाहिश होती है हम जिसको पसंद करते हैं उसी के साथ शादी करें। तो ये मैं सबको कहना चाहती हूँ।
Marriage is portrayed in the Quran as a union that encourages modesty, procreation, and the love and pleasure of the couples. According to the Quran, this is one of His signs. And among His signs is this, that He created for you mates from among yourselves, that you may dwell in tranquility with them, and He has put love and mercy between your hearts. The Quran lays out some fundamental requirements for marriage, such as the fact that it must be an agreement reached by two parties who are both of sound mind, whether they are the spouses themselves or their guardians, and that it serves as the foundation for specific rights and obligations between the spouses. The classification of marriage as the most solemn Islamic bond necessitates the voluntary and thoughtful assent of both prospective spouses. Per Islamic law, marriage must always be voluntary. The Quran and other Islamic writings repeatedly stress the importance of healthy, consensual relationships and forbid forced unions. It is not lawful for you to inherit women by force, nor may you treat them harshly so that you can make off with part of what you have given them, unless they commit an act of flagrant indecency. Live together with them correctly and courteously. The right to consent to marriage is part of a larger Islamic protection framework for women that gives them freedom. According to a hadith reported by Abu Huraira and corroborated by Muslims, a virgin should not be married without her consent. Few would dispute the Sharia's position that female permission is required for marriage in Islam. Still, different groups have different interpretations of how consent should be given and who can give consent on behalf of the female. Muslim communities worldwide have different social norms for acceptable bridal behavior. Consent is usually given verbally, in writing, or through a symbol, such as a nod. Some Muslim civilizations consider a woman's silence as marriage acceptance. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Silence implies consent," when told the bride was too shy to give her explicit consent. This custom is based on a hadith in which the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized getting a female's consent in addition to her guardians. This authentic hadith refers to a time when silence was a sign of agreement in various societies. In most cultures, quiet consent is no longer accepted. Thus, a woman's silence is not her permission. In most cultures, an explicit verbal yes or no is more in line with the Sharia's demand for permission. Even in traditional societies where silent consent is still the norm, it cannot be presumed that the bride consented to the marriage without corroborating evidence. Any behavior or action revealing her discontent cannot be overlooked. So why do these so-called spokespeople for Islam continue to defy these teachings when Islam and our Prophet, peace be upon him, have clarified that a woman's consent should be sought while arranging for her marriage? It is obvious why these folks would be eager to marry off their daughters to someone twice or 3 times their age. It is for their own personal gain. Regardless of how devout someone may claim to be, when they show little consideration for their children, it says a lot about who they are. In order to challenge the horrific atrocities that have been carried out in the name of religion, we created challenging beliefs. Our team will be covering a variety of themes with each upload, but that's all we have to say today. We genuinely hope that we were able to educate even one of you who is watching our video right now, since it only takes one person to make a meaningful difference. Special thanks go out to Aisha and Sadia, who played a major role in making this video possible.